With the beginning of the first round of testing for the new CV mechanics and AA mechanics, or as I like to call it, the CV rework, which if you're interested in that, you can check out yesterday's video where we go through the changes and I show you guys some footage from the test server, a common talking point was brought up yet again. And this is a talking point, or a suggestion, I guess you could say, that gets brought up anytime carriers or planes are discussed pretty much anywhere in the community. And that is 2D minimap spotting. You see, with the changes that are potentially coming to CVs, because remember, this is all in testing, this can all change, this can all get shelved if Wargaming feels like it. If you take a look at what's being proposed and what's being tested, it is certainly more complicated than what we have right now. Because you have these various layers that your planes fly at, there's all these different AA mechanics now and such. So the proponents of 2D minimap spotting are looking at these changes and going, why in the world is Wargaming going with something so convoluted and so complicated instead of just 2D minimap spotting for CVs? Now, if you don't know, in-game there are two different types of spotting. You have 3D spotting and 2D spotting. 3D spotting is what you probably most associate with spotting. It's when a destroyer, or really any ship or any aircraft in-game, gets within the detection range of another ship and it pops up in front of you in its full 3D model. You can lock your guns onto it and shoot at it. That is 3D spotting. Then we have 2D spotting. 2D spotting, really easy example is that radar. Radar, when you pop it, if you guys don't know, there's a 6-second time gap where only you are spotting that ship. And for everybody else on your team, that ship is spotted on the map in 2D, meaning that it is outlined on the map. They can see where the ship is at, but the ship will not render for them in a 3D form until after that 6-second window has closed. And then for the rest of the duration of your radar, the ship is 3D spotted for everyone to see and everyone to shoot. You can also see this happen during cyclones, when your vision gets shrunken down to 8 kilometers, where you can then, spot whatever is in 8 kilometers of you. And if you're spotting something within 8 kilometers of your ship, it's 3D spotted for you, but then 2D spotted for everyone else on your team. So, since CVs have the ability to, of course, fly planes all over the map and get from one side of the map to the other side of the map in, mere seconds as opposed to the minutes it takes a normal ship, of course they have a tremendous amount of spotting potential. And what, of course, happens and is very frustrating is that you may not even be the source of the CV. I'm sorry, not the source. You may not even be the subject of the CV's attention, because they're flying to deal with some other ship on some other side of the map. But just because the planes spot everything that they fly over, you get spotted. You're now targeted by the rest of the enemy team. The CV may pull a handbrake turn, come back around, dump their ordnance on top of you too. So a simple proposal, as it is often touted as, is to just have CVs do 2D minimap spotting for everyone else and just 3D spotting for themselves. Meaning that whatever the CV flies over, it can see it, and it'll render in 3D for the CV, but for everyone else on the CV's team, it will just appear as an outline on the map, and it will let the rest of the friendly team know, hey, look, this is where the ship is at, have fun. But in order for it to be properly spotted, obviously, a ship will have to get within the detection range of whatever ship the CV is flying over in 2D spotting, and it'll fix the whole CV spotting problem. Well, you see, Wargaming has tested this out beforehand. Back in 2022-2023, there was apparently a closed test session with what I would assume would be the super testers and Wargaming's internal test team. And they tried this out. And according to them, it didn't really work. Why? Depends upon, who you ask and how deep you want to go down the rabbit hole. But either way, it didn't work. Either mechanically there were some issues, or it was just kind of... And what you will hear from the players that are opposed to this is that it's kind of a Band-Aid fix. Where, you solve that one issue with CVs, but there's still the issue of, they're just still flying around spotting everybody. So, if you are the CV and you're just flying around, still spotting everybody. You're still letting the enemy team or with the CV's team know, where all these ships are on the map. And let's say you're playing a destroyer, and you're being very stealthy and very sneaky, and you are trying to torpedo, this 2 or 3 ships that are sitting in front of you, and one of them might be, I don't know, a Stalingrad with 12-kilometer radar. Well, Stalingrad's getting spotted, and he doesn't know you're there, and you're about to dump your torpedoes on him. Then the CV comes flying over, and again instantly spots you. You're still 2D minimap spotted. The team still knows that you're there, so now the Stalingrad can pop their radar, and you're now dead. Now, of course, you can say, well, don't be within 12 kilometers of a Stalingrad, dummy. Yeah, true, but that's just one example I can think of where, yeah, it's still 2D minimap spotting, but it's still not solving the overall issue, which is, again, the ability for just CVs to kind of stumble around and spot the entire team and let the friendly team know, this is where everybody's at in a matter of seconds, right? So that is still definitely a problem. Sure, it might solve some of the frustration, but it doesn't really solve all the frustration. If you look at what Wargaming is doing right now with these big CV changes, they are attempting to knock out a lot of the frustrating factors of CVs on surface ships. With the flight levels now, when you're traveling, you're high up, you can't spot anything at all. I think that's preferable to 2D minimap spotting, because the CV still can't just, basically fly from one side of the map to the other side of the map in a few seconds and let everybody on the friendly team know, okay, this is exactly where all these ships are at, and I did this in about 30 seconds. You can't do that anymore, right? So I think that's preferable. Now, another thing, too, that gets brought up is that World Warships Legends, which is the console version of World Warships, and the Lesta client have 2D minimap spotting. Well, fun fact, the Lesta client, which is separate from Wargaming now, they did try out 2D minimap spotting. It was announced in the dev block some months ago, but guess what? They haven't gone through with it yet. So either it's such a headache that they are still in some form of internal testing over at Lesta, or they've shelved it. And Legends is a bit of a different animal from the PC client. Legends, it's much faster paced, the engagement ranges are much closer, and yes, they did get 2D minimap spotting for CVs, but it was part of a larger overall CV rework for Legends. So it wasn't just a one thing that they implemented and then now CVs are all hunky-dory. And another thing I want to ask too is that if Wargaming were to scrap all this and just put in CV 2D minimap spotting, would everyone suddenly become, hunky-dory with CVs? All the players that sit here and complain all the time about them, and that just hate CVs, because, there are players that just hate other classes. There are players that hate battleships, that hate cruisers, that hate destroyers, that hate submarines, and that hate CVs. Would it really fix that? Probably not, because, again, it's not addressing all of the issues with CVs. Because for those that are saying, okay, let's just scrap all this and put 2D minimap spotting in, this doesn't fix the fact that, I shoot down an entire attacking wave with my ship's AA and they just get replenished by the squadron that's flying behind the initial attacking wave. That doesn't fix that. It still feels like AA does nothing. With the current changes, when you shoot down 2 or 3 planes in the attacking squadron, you're taking away 2 or 3 of those bombs, 2 or 3 of those torpedoes, 2 or 3 of those sets of rockets that are coming at your ship. That's a major problem that's being addressed with these CV changes. Now, are these CV changes in the perfect spot right now? No, because this is just the first round of testing. Wargaming really just wanted to see the mechanics, see if the mechanics work, see if the players can get a hold of the mechanics, and then they're going to move on to balancing, the AA interaction and these CVs as time goes on. This is just the first round of testing. But that's what I meant when I said I really like what I see right now, because, again, they're attempting to address multiple issues with this rework rather than just, the spotting issue, which, again, I think is preferable that the CVs, as they're flying, at 200 or something knots, they can't just spot everybody as they fly around, and if they want to spot, they got to come down to where they are now within your AA range, and, they can be shot by AA, and it can only be for, at maximum, a minute, which I doubt very many CVs will fly around and getting shredded by AA for a whole minute just to spot, because, they want to do damage themselves, so Yeah, and the fact that DFAA can actually just blind the CVs, outright and just completely nullify any spotting that they have going for them. Yeah, so 2D minimap spotting, sure, it might fix one problem, but you still have the other frustrations of the CVs there. So I don't think it's a proper replacement for this entire rework as is being made out in many parts of the community. Because again, you're fixing one issue, you're putting a band-aid on one issue when there's several issues that need to be addressed with CVs if you want a more enjoyable time out of it. So there's that. So, as good as it sounds, I don't think it's a proper fix. Again, I like what I'm seeing here. Again, I'm not saying it's perfect as is. Obviously, some more balancing needs to happen, and hopefully that'll happen as time goes on. Wargaming has learned a lot with their previous reworks in the past. I mean, again, look what happened with the first CV rework. They kind of pushed it out the door. It was a disaster. And then they took their dear sweet time with submarines. The submarines launched in a much better place when they did fully launch than where they were at, even at like the second or third round of testing. So hopefully we'll see that same type of care and, patience taken here at the CV rework rather than just, having 1 or 2 rounds of testing and pushing it out the door, which, again, I believe, I hope at least that Wargaming won't do that because, yeah, it does still need work, obviously. But, guys, that's my 2 cents on minimap spotting. So, guys, just let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Would you prefer them just to go with 2D minimap spotting, or do you like, what you're seeing here with the rework, or do you think it's a waste of time? You think it's too complicated, this, that, and the other. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Have a wonderful Wednesday, wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.